Test. This might be very loud. Yeah, that's right.
Just like you. They were great because my friend was moving. He had a bunch of plants and you wanted to claim.
Is this too loud?
And, well, not you, but your doppelganger. And I said to her, I was just like, I'll leave. Like,
Test. Okay, that sounds a little better.
I was like, take it.
No, you.
Happy New Year. All right, it's a couple minutes after 6. I'd like to call the meeting to order.
It's 6:02.
6:02. 6:02.
Yes.
Yep. Kate, Kate,
So-
can you call the roll?
Steve Roundtree and Nathan Smallwood will not be present tonight. Barb Hart.
Here.
Andrew Dewart.
Here.
Scott Papich.
Here.
Danielle Kraus.
Here.
Everett Nielsen.
Here.
Steve Carreau. Yeah. He has his son, and so he might join us again in a second, but he is on tonight. So I'll call him back in. And Trustee Corvalon is not online yet, but I'm sure she'll join us shortly. So again, I'll bring them both in.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments on Any questions or comments on the consent agenda? If not, I'd ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Barb Hart,
Yes?
Andrew Dewart,
Yes.
Scott Papich,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Trustee Corvalon, still not there with us. Everett Nielsen,
Yes.
Steve Carreau, still not with us. Thank you all.
Thanks, Kate. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items?
We have a member of the public online as well. And I see Steve Carreau is back online with us. Hi, Steve.
Yeah. Hi.
And Trustee Corvalon is online now too, I see. Thank you. Is there no public comment on non-agenda items?
Seeing and hearing none. We'll move on to the action items. The first action item is the wayfinding bid results and recommendation. Kate, would you like to present?
Sure, thank you. The Wayfinding Committee, together with Merge Design, put out the wayfinding request for proposals on December 9th, 2024. Responses were due back on December 30th, 2024, with a pre-bid meeting on December 19th. Several questions were received and the packet was downloaded by 24 firms. The following responses were received from Arapahoe Signs and Arts and Altitude Signs, which is a Colorado business, a bid for, they listed $250,470. However, they didn't include bonds and taxes, which they listed in another place on the application. So their total bid is $279,126. Geograph Industries Inc., from which is an Ohio business, who has experience working on lots of wayfinding projects across the country and some with Merge. Their bid came in at $281,037, and E3 Signs, which is a Colorado business, came in at $336,500. The project budget estimate was approximately $290,000. Therefore, the bids were generally aligned with the estimates. The construction administrator, John Bazio, and the NDDA executive director had a bid results meeting on January 2nd, 2024. At the meeting, a review was held on the attached bids. It was also discussed that an interview round with the top two, Arapahoe Signs and Geograph, may be helpful, as there are some clarifying questions that could help get at the lowest qualified bidder, since the numbers were so close and there's just a few things that we were hoping to be able to clarify. After a proposed interview round, a contract should be entered into in a direct effect to ensure that the wayfinding project is completed by fall 2025. So the recommendation before the board is the construction administrator, the wayfinding committee, and the executive director recommend holding interviews on January 14th with Arapahoe Signs and Geograph. After the interview process, it is also recommended that a contract be entered into with direct effect with the lowest qualified bid response. Financial consideration. This is included in the wayfinding budget of $400,000. The current cost estimate is $298,067, including construction administration services. And you saw attached were all three responses that we received. And so the questions before the board tonight are: does the board approve of having interviews with Geograph Industries and Arapahoe Sign Arts Altitude Signs? And does the board approve of entering into an agreement with the lowest qualified bidder after interviews, or does the board want it to come back again? This is another way to clarify that. So there you listed some possible motions for your convenience. And Steve Crow, do you want to jump in and say anything since you're here?
Thanks. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
We can hear you, Steve.
Great. I don't have anything specific that I wanted to add to that. You know, I think that what you mentioned was pretty clear. So I don't have anything specific. I could answer, or help try to answer questions if any of the board members have those.
Okay. All right. Andrew, do you want to go around and...
Yeah, let's go around the room. If anyone wants to. Welcome, Tanya.
Hi,
Hi.
I have some questions.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time locating in one organized document the amount of signs, the style of sign, and the location of sign, and the cost of each sign. I have no idea where all these signs are going to go. Someone had sent me a message saying there's going to be a kiosk informational directory at the visitor center and then one again at the rock shop. I'm just kind of like, why would we have two in the same, within 20 feet of each other, 50 feet of each other? I really feel like the outreach to the community on this whole project, because there is no organized document that really details the style of the sign. And I'm feeling really disorganized about this, even though it's been very organized by Merge. But I also don't understand why a lot of these signs are one-sided and the back is just black. Why wouldn't you have two sides to a sign? I'm also thinking, I don't know why we need 4 covered kiosks at the, $22,000 each. I just can't visualize what's going on. I can't find one document with a map and a drawing. It would be really helpful to know where these are going to be, what they're going to look like. They're just going to be like regular aluminum signs, or it doesn't seem like they're going to have a whole lot of personality to them based on one of the documents that was in the RFP that had some design elements to them. I don't have the businesses seeing this. Do they know where they're going to be? Are they excited about it? What's the feedback from the community? Because every time I mention it to people, they're kind of appalled at the price tag. And they're like, why wouldn't this just be done somebody local, like a local artist or something more low key? And they're like, do we need 20 signs? I don't understand. There's also some confusion saying some signs are going to go outside of the NDDA district, but I know that can't be possible because we can't pay for anything outside our district. So I wish there was something. There you go. Thank you. This is what I'm looking for. This shows every sign. Does it have the price and the style of the sign? There's a legend I see.
So this document that I shared with you earlier has all the locations, all the signs, all the pictures. This is all of them, and this is where where we walked around, what was discussed.
Was it like a month ago that there was diagrams of
pictures?
all the signs? Right.
Where's the pictures of the signs?
So these documents are huge. And so there are pictures I think there's some in this one, but maybe it is on the other one. So there is one other one that then has the signs. And then there's the budget document was shown. And I can pull that up too in a second.
Yeah.
So there's 3 documents that have all of that in there. And
3 documents. Yeah, I was looking at this one. It definitely has the most. It's just hard for me to understand why we need this many signs. I think we could probably do with a third of the amount if they're going to cost between $5,000 and $20,000 for each. I mean, town is we're in the red or whatever you want to call it. And I'm just not for this at all. That's just where I'm at right now. I actually liked the third person on the bid. They seem to have the most creative sort of examples of signs they made. Again, I'm not really sure.
Hey, Tanya.
Yeah.
This is Scott. There was a document, I think it was a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, that had like drawings and diagrams of all these signs and the
that was
stock
in the RFP.
yeah.
I'm still not seeing like where each sign's supposed to go that looks like that. And is that the style they're going to be from that RFP that's been determined? Who determined
Yes.
that? It was merged, I guess.
You all
Has
voted
this
on that.
been shared though with the community? It's not on the website. It's not on the NDDA website. It's not on anything. It's not on Envision, Netherlands.
This is Steve Carra. If I could just cut in a little bit, I feel your pain there, with your confusion about it. And I agree that maybe it would have been good to try to coordinate all this into one document. But this has been an ongoing process. And along each step of the way, we've had documents that we were working on at that time that were all approved by the board. Even the BOT, I went to a meeting and presented to the BOT. And I emailed you back this afternoon.
Yeah, I saw that. That was like, you were like 2 kiosks, one by the rock shop and one by the.
Yeah, so a lot of what you're saying, I think it just stems from confusion, maybe from, looking at different documents over the past few years. And I can understand that. But along the way, everything's been documented, and at each stage, the board has approved these things. Also, there was in the early stages, which I think was like 2019, maybe 2020, probably 2019 before COVID hit.
Oh, yeah, was it?
Yeah, we had in maybe 2018. I don't know. It's going back pretty far, but we had a lot of outreach with the public. We as usual in town, we don't get a whole lot of people at these things, but we had many like charrettes or whatever you want to call them, with different groups, including business groups, and we broke down the different business groups and had input and everything. So it's been a very inclusive, and thorough process along the way, and it's been over a number of years. So I can understand your confusion, perhaps at this point, because we don't have one unified document, but everything has been, going through the processes and getting approved along the way.
Seems like you're going to need that document, the unified document, to give to whoever builds these.
Well,
Yeah, for sure. And they do have that, from the bid process. There, as Kate was saying, there's another document that was created after the BOT came up with their, logo and whatever it was, branding scheme. And so we incorporated some colors in there. And there is, I believe on the back of the signs, it does have Nederland.
I'm not seeing that in your documentation. It's just like, there's like an ice rink sign, which I'm afraid we can't do that one. And then the back of it is just like nothing. And then all the parking signs have nothing on the back of them. So at least from your the one that you sent out the art, and that's fine, but it seems like for whatever, $5,000-$6,000, you could at least get a double-sided sign maybe.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, and then I presented, like I said, at the BOT, and I sent you that breakdown, and that has every sign and the individual cost.
Yeah,
of that.
he said that that's outdated and not being what's used. The location one, that was the one I looked up from September of 23, and that was a good document, but apparently it's not the actual document.
So the only thing that changed from that one was the sign colors and the lettering, so that it was cohesive with the branding. That's the only thing that changed from that one to this one. And there might have been, I don't think there were too many tweaks, because that one was what was drafted when they came out and we walked all the sign locations. And Everett also has his hand up too. I just want to make sure he knows that I see him and hear him. But Tanya, you can keep going. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I understand. Just one more question. Why were we waiting for the logo when it doesn't appear like the logo is on any of our signs?
We were waiting for the colors and the lettering and the branding and, the fonts. That's really what we had to wait for.
Oh, okay. That's it.
So
Everett?
I asked what, like, not last meeting before, if these signs met the MUTCD standard. I imagine if we're going with a third-party company, which sounds like we are, and they're following the MUTCD standard, the signage needs to be clear and concise, needs to be uniform, needs to be 80% retroreflective. And that's why some of the signs are probably double-sided and some of them aren't, because over signage is just as bad as under signage. Somebody who's hurt themselves out there on one of those trails, they need to know where they are, and they need to go explain to first responders what trailhead they're at or what trail crossroads they're at so that they can get to them. So I would imagine that that's why some of them are blank on the backside and some of them are only one-sided, so to say. Plus, painting the back of the signs reduces glare effect, which can actually cause fires on the roadside. That's why in the canyon on CDOT, in CDOT signs, a lot of them are brown now, is because we're moving those out from the metal signs and painting them so that there's no glare effect that can set dry grass on fire and things like that. So that's would be my thoughts on the signs and why they are the way they are. We had somebody local do them, and somebody was to get hurt, and they lawyered up. There's two people who buy the MUTCD, which is municipalities and lawyers. So if they were to go out there and fall down and bust their leg and nobody can find them because they don't know where they are, and they lawyered up, the first thing a lawyer is going to do is go out there and take pictures of those signs. They don't meet that standard. Guess who's at fault? Anyway, that's all I got to say on that.
So are we having signs in the forest? I thought they were just in the NDDA district.
No, they're not in the forest, but I think that was just an example of,
Okay.
but as Everett said, these are all to standards. There's, highway codes and street codes and all kinds of things as far as reflectivity and fonts allowed and the size that the font has to be. So that's, part of why we hired Merge initially, because they have all that info and they know it all, and they could create the sign designs with that in mind. And also the manufacturers who work on these signs, they're following the exact spec set out by Merge. So everything has been, it's all according to the codes that it has to be for the particular sign.
And I just want to let everybody know that I've put up the budget and the base bid, and this is what we received prior to putting the bid out, which is where I got the numbers to put into the packet last month. But so this is what Merge had kind of predicted, and then we have the other ones in the packet. I just wanted to call that out.
Thanks, Kate. Danielle, you care to share?
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. So with graphic design and working here in a small town and having businesses that don't have a lot of foot traffic and where a lot of town doesn't even really know where we are, the overall idea of professionally done 2 code signs has been amazing. I'm really excited to see the project continue to move forward, looked after diligently and very well by a committee, and the volunteer in this community is incredible. And I'm always really grateful to see community members chime in and share their thoughts. And having been on the board for a couple of years and pushing my personal limits and learning how to work with community and balance family and be involved with volunteer as well as business, it's really beautiful to see, and it's really intriguing to hear thoughts and wonderful to witness collaboration develop and be learned. So I'm grateful for people chiming in, learning how to pay attention, the town overall learning how to better communicate and listen to where information's coming back, whether it's online, in person, at meetings, through word of mouth. Sometimes it feels really awkward, sometimes overwhelming, but we're all learning how to communicate, and that's beautiful for moving forward with the wayfinding and the bids, gratitude to the community, and gratitude to the committee in moving this forward. I remember seeing the images when this was coming up, color schemes, graphic design wise, knowing the consistency and the legibility and uniformity and how that speaks of our town, and remembering comments all along and being able to follow it has been incredible. Even though I don't follow it very well, I'm grateful to be a part of watching it and being on the board and hearing community and having a say in it. So there's where I'm at with it. Thank you.
Thanks, Danielle. Scott?
Thanks, Andrew. I have a couple of questions, but I also want to comment. This project started before I ever got on the DDA, and it's been a headline project every month. We talk about it, and you guys have done a good job of trying to manage this thing because it's a huge project. My understanding is there's been a lot of community input on this, and there's been a lot of collaboration with town on this. There have been people who have not liked any of it and not wanted to do any of it, and a lot of people who have supported it. We've taken a lot of community input. When this thing is done, there'll still be people who don't like it. And that doesn't mean it was a failure. It won't even be perfect. And that doesn't mean it's a failure. So not everybody's always going to love it, but it has a purpose. And the team who put this together has tried very hard to make it the best, most efficient, most effective solution that is even possible. So having said that, I have a couple of questions. One of them is, I actually read through all these proposals here, and there's a couple of things on page 16, page 63, and page 64 that have to do with the Arapahoe Side Arts proposal. I just want to ask if, when somebody goes to the trouble of listing when their insurance, their liability insurance expires, it must be important. And the document shows that expired, most of it expired 6 months ago. So if you look on page 16, I think I'm reading it correctly. Policy expiration 7/1 of 2024. Is this a concern for us?
Oh, I mean, I think certainly yes, it would be a concern. At the same time, I mean, having a certificate with having current dates on it, as well as some that, I mean, should they have been able to get a current certificate?
Yeah.
Yeah. This would be an easy question, and yes, but it's not an immediate red flag, you know. It's like, could be a clerical
Yep.
error, or like this was still workers' comp still active. So
Right. I agree. I don't think it's a deal breaker at all. I just want to make sure that if we're going to go into negotiation, we clarify on that. The other thing I noticed that I do think is an item of negotiation is on page 65. Of your packet, right? Section 5, workmanship warranty, 1 year. These signs are going to be there a long time. Is 1 year the best we can get on warranty? Is that an industry standard, or are they just, yeah? Okay. If that's standard and everybody else is going to offer the same thing, I guess it's not a deal breaker. Okay. Okay. I would say they look like pretty comparable proposals. I think that this third one, Geograph Industries from Ohio, I think they are, their proposal looked a little bit thin on information compared to ASA, but you know, they're very comparable on price. The potential motion on this is to choose the lowest qualified bidder. I want to make sure that qualified is the most important part of that.
That's why we use that word,
Okay.
because there are little questions that
Yep.
we both have come up with, that the construction administrator and myself came up with as we were going through these proposals, and things that we noticed in questions that we were receiving. And so that's why we feel the best way to get at qualified is to go into interviews with them.
I
That's
agree.
really what it boiled down to, that we could have suggested one, but we just felt like it would feel better to everyone to go through a little bit more due diligence, so that when we do award this, as you know, this has been going on for so long, that we can do it and feel good about who we put in
Yep.
charge and how this goes.
So it's been a long time coming and a long process and a lot of diligence. I think we'd be cheating ourselves if we didn't at least talk to these guys before we make a decision. I would say that all things being equal, I favor the idea of having somebody from Colorado do this work because they're geographically closer to the job. So thanks for hearing me out.
And Merge very much understands that.
Mhm.
That's also why we feel going through the interview process is important as well.
Thanks. And again, when this thing is done, there'll still be people who won't like it. That doesn't mean it's a failure.
I would like to
Barb?
point out that we should
Oh.
definitely think about the wind, which we know up here is its own little thing. High wind application would be a good idea, so that if the wind does tear a sign up, doesn't take the post out as well, we just got to go put the sign back up instead of having to replace the whole sign system.
So I think we already kind of talked about that, but I'll bring that up with him just to make sure. When our construction administrator, I'll make sure that we talk about that in questions too. Thank you for bringing that up. But I do think we've gone through that, but it's not bad to check again.
Residential roofs are rated to what? A lot of them up here are 130 miles an hour, 140. I'll take that.
I just want to say I've been on the wayfinding board. I've been on the DDA for 5 years. We've been working on this for so long. We've seen it change and morph, and it's time to do it. Like, stop putting it off anymore. And I'm all for having a Colorado business do it, because we've already spent the money. We want somebody that will not only be able to come and do the work, but also be able to come back and fix something if it comes up, and it just makes sense to go local. So I hope that you will interview them as quickly as possible and get the process going so it can be done this summer.
So if it is awarded, like I said, or if you approve tonight, like I said in the aim, we've already blocked out that January 14th would be when. And so after this meeting, I would contact everybody and let them know that I would say no thank you to the higher bid, but then tell the other two that we would like to have interviews to be able to make sure that get to the right place.
Can you ask the higher bid if they would come in lower for consideration, or no?
So they're a lot higher because they proposed a kiosk that was so if you look at their bids, that's really where it was. So that was what was cool about this, is everybody was really tight.
Mhm.
And so we could very much see where the pricing and where there might have been misunderstanding. And so, but that client, or that response though, was the kiosk were just not what we were asking for. Is ultimately what it was. So if the board decides, say, that you want to do something, I can see what our construction administrator thinks, like as far as best practice, because this was sealed bid, they already did bring it in. But since we haven't fully closed it out with everybody, there might be wiggle room. So if the board wants to, I could certainly ask if they would come down, or I don't even know how, or we could clarify that question with them and see what happens. I think that
Kiosk.
would be the best thing, because we couldn't really ask them to come down, but we could clarify with the kiosk and see if that helps anything, because that is, again, a Colorado business. And I know that that's a preference for us. And, you know, of the 24 downloads, like 17 of them were from Colorado businesses. So that was really encouraging to see. There's a lot of wayfinding projects going on in Colorado right now, and Merge is a part of a lot of them. So that's part of the economies of scales that we're getting with some of the construction administration. But that's why the timing is right. And there's a lot of people interested in doing this work.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Kate.
Sorry, this is Steve Carro. I'm just trying to juggle my kid needing a ride, but was that question about the wind answered? Because, you know, that's all just design criteria and it's part of the engineering, so it will certainly be, figured out.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, wayfinding. I, just want to honor that we heard on, via recently online, some community members voice concerns over, the amount of signage and the cost of signage, and just want to honor we hear you. And, as has been noted, this has been going on for a long time. But I will also acknowledge, like it was a bit clunky on needing to reference, the old RFP and not having all the documents and the map in the same place. But that being said, this has been going on for a while. So I'm really excited to see it brought to a vote. And the way that I see this regarding the bids is that, I still think there's enough questions and clarifications where numbers of the bids would adjust. So I wouldn't want to discount any candidate at this point. And I really just see this as moving the interview process forward. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. So I'd entertain a motion. Oh, public comment. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry,
Right.
Andrew.
Yeah.
At first, I didn't want to say anything just because I didn't have anything initially to say, but with, some of the comments coming and all that, and also just to honor the people that, just before the meeting, I saw a number of emails and stuff coming through from town, from people submitting information or, points. And I just wanted to say that, the whole thrust of the wayfinding since the beginning has really been to get people to be able to get to parking spaces around town so that, mostly tourists and stuff could find an easy way to park and stop and spend money here. So I just wanted to say that, that's a really big part of the whole program for the people who are, perhaps not too happy with what's happening or whatever. That really it's about trying to get more tourist dollars and just people to enjoy the town and be able to park and get out and explore the town. So I just wanted to point out that, that's really been the whole purpose of the wayfinding, or the main, one of the main purposes.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, you reminded me, I can often think of it as there's two different functions, as the sign stands, it itself is a thing. And then of course it's pointing and giving information. So, we got that's, keeping that in mind that these are designed to serve a purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. And one other thing just about I heard a few different people, I think, or a few different comments, about clutter of signs in town. And that was one other thing that we were trying to address with wayfinding, was to have a unified look and feel to the signage. And we will be removing, some duplicative signs when the new signs come in. So it's not just adding signs to town. And I think in a lot of ways, it's going to be a little bit of an eye relief when these newer signs are in, because all the various haphazard signs, will be, some of them will be replaced by very uniform look and feel. So that's just one other thing.
Thanks, Steve.
Everett, I see your hand up. Is it just still up from before, or do you have anything to add?
No, sorry about that.
No problem.
There we go. No more raised hand.
Yeah, ready for public comment. Hi.
Come on up to the podium and turn on, and we'll start the timer.
And introduce yourself for the audio, please.
There it is. Okay, we're good. So, I know there's an old saying, you can't fire a shotgun slowly, but I think in this case, the size of the project is maybe a little incompatible with our recent revelations about the town budget, $1 million behind. Not everybody's doing super well in town. So it occurs to me that there are great points that are being made. There's a desire to have readable signs for people to be oriented. I can see putting up 4 or 5 signs and even a couple, not even kiosks, just places to put our wonderful maps with all the businesses listed. I'm not sure we have to do signs. So my recommendation would be, don't make the mistake we made when we bought the brand new $250,000 custom snowplow truck and then didn't have anybody with a CDL to drive it. We know that Ron Mitchell is poised to submit his application for downtown redevelopment. This is going to change the whole face of more than that part of town. So I would suggest that everybody agrees we need to know where parking is. We need to know, people need to know where they can go for, art and to get a map. They want to go to the kaleidoscope. They want to know how to get there. I think something in their hand or on an app is easier than trying to put gigantic signs everywhere. And I do think we should okay, you want the unification of the branding with the consistent text and colors and so forth. You can still be creative, which has been our trademark. That's been our brand. We're creative and diverse in Nederland, and we're artistic. And so to have a very uniform, overdone signage that has to be replaced after new projects go in, I think is a little rash. And I would suggest that you move forward, say 5 or 10. And I would also think it would be a very fun thing to put together an event with the town, and I'll help you put it on if you want. We had a great turnout at our town meeting on annexation at the library. It's possible to get a lot of people to come, and they want to be involved. I think that's a good thing. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Kathleen Chippai, Magnolia Star Route, 22-year business owner in Nederland. I have been one of the people against this project from the beginning. And I thought after the $26,000 Zoom meetings in 2021, which I was only allowed to participate in one, which made no sense, but after they were all recorded, I watched them all, and at that point, the consulting company said 1 to 3 signs was what we needed. Then I stopped going to the DDA meetings when my head almost exploded when the DDA board voted to spend $160,000 on phase 2 with the consulting company. And I looked I went to the meeting, the informal meeting at the Very Nice, and I specifically asked Kate, and I believe Deb Deandra also did, how many signs, what were they going to say, and where were they going to be? And we heard 20 to 25 signs. We heard, we don't know what they're going to say, and we don't know what they're going to be. And now I'm finding out, reading this packet, that was not true. Also, when I went back to try to find out what we were ending up with, that reference document from September 2023 has 56 signs. More than half of them are outside of the DDA district. You're not allowed to take the DDA money and spend it outside of the district. The skating rink, the elementary school signs, there's signs all over. West Magnolia Trailhead, 3 signs on Magnolia, 3 kiosks on the corner, Rock Shop, Visitor Center, and the northwest corner. I mean, and we say this is to help businesses, but only, according to that document, only 4 businesses will even have their names on a sign, which made no sense to me either. And it made no sense to me that the farmer's market was going to get a permanent sign when they don't pay into the DDA district. They're not DDA members. So, yeah, I'm not happy with what's going on. I think the expenditures are way too much. And I believe that in the packet, we should be able to pull up a DDA packet. I haven't slept since yesterday night because I spent so much time trying to track down the documents for the DDA. The DDA website hasn't been updated since 2017. I've said this over and over again. The DDA website page on the town has a picture of the Pioneer Inn that says 35-year anniversary. None of the businesses that are in that picture are even exist anymore. The paint's different. I can't find an email list with the current businesses. Okay, I'm not happy, and I will not be when we spend this kind of money on a project that has not been defined to the community.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Andrew, is it okay to, or is it allowed to respond to that?
Yeah, I think so, Steve.
Okay, Kathleen, this is Steve Carreau, and thank you for the input. You know, I do always appreciate input, and I think the whole board does. I just wanted to say that many of those statements that you made are not correct. I'll just name a few that I just made notes of. All those signs you said, you know, that are way out of the district, those aren't what we're doing. That's in like a phase 3 if we did eventually expand those.
You're not allowed to do them with DDA money.
I'm not sure that's true either because
You're 100% true you can't spend DDA money outside of the DDA district.
Okay, fine, Kathleen, that's okay. You know, we're not doing them anyway. But there's not 3 kiosks on the corner either.
There is on that document from September 11th.
Well, of 2023?
You just had it up earlier. I just saw it up there.
That wasn't the same document. This is a current document from 7/24. That's what we had up on the screen a minute ago.
I just saw the same pictures.
That's because they're
Kathleen, they could look very similar, but I'm telling you, we're not doing that. There are on the corner, there's 1 kiosk over by the visitor center, and then there's 2 business directory signs, which are very different, very tall, with removable slats that will indicate which businesses are on east side of the highway on First Street and the west side. So maybe that's what you saw, but there's definitely not 3 kiosks on the corner.
They're red and they're in the 700s, which says kiosks on the.
Kathleen,
I'm just telling you what the chart that I'm looking at says.
okay. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, I'd love you to pull it up. I mean, please, if I'm inaccurate here.
I mean, so can I talk for a second, Kathleen?
You bet.
Okay. You know, I think fundamentally, getting back to like an issue beyond, let me talk about like the website needing to be updated and could we keep our side of the street cleaner? Yeah, we could, you know, we could. And Mary, like that the town is funky and unique and like this is an existential kind of shift. I mean, really it is, of like signage going up to direct and, you know, define, maybe it's not an existential shift, but you know, certainly it's a change and, you know, like unifying things. And then also that this process has been going on for maybe not always perfect, but we've got, still a lot of documents to be hashed out. And, I view this as like continuing the interview phase, where during this time between now and, but when anything is executed, there is a nice clean package that lists exactly, where everything is, references the original RFP framework that was agreed upon, spells out, make sure that there's no questions about the language. I realize that's lower than the lens that you're talking about right now, but this is certainly, we hear you and we want to make sure that, if we could, when we can share the screen, but I don't think that that's going to solve anything, tonight. This can be a long meeting diving into the details of what signs where. And so, I take Steve's words for it right now,
We can't pull it up, is what you're saying,
Well-
and see that the 700s are called kiosks in the
Okay, can you find that?
in the legend?
Okay.
Andy, if I may, just respond. And
We,
also,
nobody can see it, so if we wait just a minute, I'll just pick up right there. I just want to make sure we record it.
Hold that thought.
Kathleen, I just.
Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
I'm just going to test the audio for the people online. Hey, can you test the audio really quick? Just with your mic.
Test.
You see if Billy or Lisa or Steve can say something.
Hi, Steve. Can you say something so we can make sure the audio is working?
Steve, can you hear us? He's a thumbs up.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Thanks.
Tell them we had a technical difficulty.
Yeah, I
We're
can.
live again.
Hi, we just had a technical difficulty and we're live again.
All right, just really quickly, May Gerald again. I just wanted to respond to Steve and Andy's perhaps sentiment that this is an emotional issue for townspeople. I think it's hard for people to understand me because my voice is hard to understand, but I'm talking about dollars and cents. My arguments are not emotional, they're economic. And I do have some finesse in terms of the look. I think what I am saying is probably shared by a good percentage of the town, that they want to keep Nederland and keep it funky. And you can do signs like that, directional signs, and still have character and class. I'm not against the signs. I'm against 25 signs for $250,000. I think we're overspending. But people are going to come to Nederland if they know where to park and which art gallery to go to, so.
Thanks, Mary. And while we're waiting, we can bring up that.
Here's the document.
Okay, thanks, Kate.
What page do you think it's on?
What?
Well, I know it's the downtown. I'm talking about the kiosk downtown, right there. I see 3 red, there's 1. Then there's 2, 3, 4, 5.
Kathleen, I can tell you what those are. I have my notes in front of me.
Okay, we just got rid of okay, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, and whoever's scrolling through might find there's a close-up of that downtown area that would show Kathleen a little better. But Kathleen's number 700 is a kiosk that will go in Chipeta Park. 701 is going to be a kiosk near the train cars in the B&F Plaza.
Okay.
Let's see, 703 is the kiosk that's going to go over by the visitor center.
And then there's 703AB, right?
Yeah, and those are the business directory signs that I was mentioning that are quite different. They're tall signs that have removable slats. So if businesses change on the street, we can print very cheaply, different slats to go in there. So that's, meant to be just able to change without much cost. And those are to direct people, to the east side of the highway of, 119, what businesses are there, and on the west side.
Correct, and there's 700s, and the legend is right next to it, and it says the 700s are kiosks.
Well,
So,
the 703A and B, I don't know if those are listed on there as A and B, but those are, they're called directory signs. So there's directory, and that's what I just said, the business directory. And then 704, that one I wasn't able to figure out in the last 40 minutes before the meeting started. And I don't have it in my head. But 705 is a smaller kiosk that's at the Riverwalk Trail when you cross over from the covered bridge. So that will direct people, along back over toward Chipeta. So that's it's a pedestrian level.
okay.
There. So that's what those are, but there's, so anyway.
So the confusion is that Merge's legend that has the 700s in red and says kiosks, you're telling me 2 of them are not kiosks, even though they are right across the street from each other. I don't know how that helps the businesses.
Those are business directory signs.
Right.
And Kathleen, part of the issue, I agree, like we've said before, this could have been presented more clearly, and I apologize for that. It's been incremental along the, sorry, my son's trying to get a ride. It's been incremental, along the way, and as things have been changing, those have changed. So that's how 703A and B happened, because those are business directory signs, but they kept the 700 number series.
And they're listed as kiosks, and they're the exact same shape and color of the other 4 kiosks. So I just want to clarify that. I'm sorry I didn't know that they're not what the legend says they are.
Where is this document, you guys? Which agenda is it on? So I was trying to follow along on a bigger screen. Is this the location one from September 13th? Or is this a different one?
Tanya, I'm working off my own notes from.
Tanya, this is
No,
this is
the
what
one
I
I
emailed you
sent
this morning. This was in the packet previously. So this is the same documents on the screen. This is from 720. This was updated as of 7/24, and it has that update because of the colors and the formatting and the typeface.
So on the agenda of 7/24.
I don't know that it's on the agenda of 7/24. It was on an agenda around that time when it was produced. And then we also had it on in October. It has been on this on agendas before, and I forwarded them to you.
Okay. I hear you, Mary. Things are, construction's expensive. And it's a lot of money for signs. But I think when I look at these numbers and, the engineering fees and the breakout, to work with these types of agencies and do this type of project, that's in line with what we expected. And, I also know that it's, when in the revenue position town is in, this is maybe stings, and I think our intention is that this ultimately makes town more functional and, drives business but so anyways, any other members want to?
Any other public comment?
Hi, this is Deputy Andrea.
Deb?
I'm new to this wayfinding thing, but sitting back and listening to everything that you guys are talking about, it sounds like you need a fact sheet with bullet points, and then a map with a legend, so that can be very simply presented. I understand you guys have been knees deep in this for forever, but to myself, looking at it, it really seems like quite a bowl of spaghetti that needs to be boiled down so that it can actually be presented to the NDDA businesses and the public, and possibly be rolled out in phases and have that project management put together. That's all.
So there is a plan that once all of this is approved, that I am going to go to businesses individually and talk about this, and it will be a topic at the Economic Vitality meeting as well.
Anyone else online? Okay. I'd entertain, I've heard all the different responses, and I agree that the lack of a complete document that lists all of this is frustrating, talking about numbers like this and kind of what this is. But I think, knowing that we're not committing to anything other than taking the interview process further and wanting to get all of that information, it's my expectation that we have that clear document between now and whenever any selections are made. But as far as like the wayfinding itself as a process and where we are now, I feel like this is something that we've been working on as everyone, for longer than some members have been on the board, and with town is so. There's still a lot more to figure out on the signs. I would like them. I hope there can be funkiness incorporated into them. And having that clear document where we can get feedback on the next round is important.
Andrew, you looking for a motion?
Yeah.
I'd like to move that we approve conducting interviews with Geograph Industries and Arapahoe Sign Arts, and that we reconvene as a board to discuss after those interviews before a decision is made, even if we have to have a special Zoom meeting or something like that. You want me to say it so it's a little bit more?
No, I'm more
Appropriate.
thinking about timing, more saying you might not need to have a special meeting. We're trying to keep, we're keeping this on a tight timeline so that we can allow for stuff like this to happen. So this is, I don't think we would need to have a special meeting. It could just come to your next meeting, and I'll reach out to you if after the interviews or something, there's some reason we should meet sooner. But I think that this could just come to your next meeting. That's what Andrew and I had discussed before a little bit, that if that was a desire, that wouldn't be an issue or really set anything back too much.
And just to clarify, we've already decided that we don't want to bother interviewing the guys who brought back a kiosk plan that wasn't in keeping with what we were looking for.
I heard mixed reviews on that, so I think that needs to be clarified too with
I'd like
the
to see all
interviews.
three of them interviewed,
I
because
think
if they
all
are
three
willing
would
to
be
come
good.
into compliance with what you're asking, then it would make sense to interview all three.
I agree with that, and Andrew was thinking that as well.
So you'll need to rescind your motion,
I'll rescind.
and then you can make a new one, or you can let somebody else, however you want to do that.
Barb, you want to make a motion? You want me to restate?
Just restate it all
Okay.
three.
So I move that we conduct interviews with all three of these contractors and that we, as a group, reconvene to decide before anything is finalized on this.
Second.
Okay, will you call the roll?
All right, Barb Hart,
Yes.
Andrew Dewart,
Excuse me. Yes.
sorry, Scott Papich,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Trustee Corvalon,
No.
I didn't hear that.
I couldn't hear you if you did respond, sorry. Trustee
Oh,
Corvalon?
that's just a no.
No? Okay, thank you. Everett Nelson,
Yes.
Steve Carell,
Yes,
thank you all.
thank you.
Motion passes. Next action item is the, sorry, I lost my agenda here, summer concert series. Kate, you want to introduce the summer concert series?
So the summer concert series RFP that was approved at the December 2024 meeting was released last month, and 2 responses were received on January 2nd, 2025. A committee of 2 board members and the NDDA executive director met and scored responses. Both responses are attached for the board to review. After reviewing the attached responses, the committee recommends moving forward with StuffNet based on the attached results of the scorecards. And as I said it earlier, there was an issue, and I did not realize the scorecards did not upload, but I did email those out, and I'll pull those up for you all while we're talking. But those were included, and so I apologize about that. I didn't find out until after it was too late to open the packet. So the questions for the board this evening are, does the board have any comments or concerns with the committee's recommendation? Is the board ready to move forward with the recommendation? And is the board ready to move forward with the agreement? And then I have a possible motion listed below for your convenience. And, all right.
Thanks, Kate. I'm going to go around the room. Barb?
I just want to acknowledge first that today we received multiple letters between 5 and 5:30 p.m. with comments about the summer concert series, and recognize that all of those are in favor of using Sweetwave audio. I don't know if we need to read those into the record. I doubt it, but I think that to make sure that everybody has read their emails this evening, because they came in this evening after the packets were finalized yesterday. So that's my first comment, and then I'm going to wait to see what everyone else has to say.
Thanks, Barb. Danielle? Here we go.
Thank you, Andrew. So the viewpoint I have on this ties well with Nederland Public Art in having the NDDA established committees, which is really incredibly helpful. And the process of picking mural artists in particular, with my experience on being on this board, is incredibly in-depth and awesome. One of the things that is really hard is acknowledging that there's talent that comes in from outside of our town, still in our county, but then things outside of the county and then outside of that. Balancing how the town wants to stay local and how the town wants things to work, I think I could have said that a little better, appeal to all of us. It's hard to go through the process and pick something and then see how the town reacts. And overall, the town's been reacting to Ned Public Art incredibly positively. And I see a similar thing with that with the Nederland concert series, and it's beautiful. I don't follow music as heavily as a great deal of people here, as well as involvement. Again, being here and learning how to be involved is incredible. I was really excited that we're picking between two. In my brain, that made it really easy. If we had local artists that qualified, which we do for Ned Public Art with the murals, they get the points and consideration and everything reviewed. For me, with this, Time Served did awesome last year, and seeing how this pulls together, it's hard not to want to go with experience and communication that's been established, which again, I am seeing compounded in our community, and it's awesome. But giving another chance to another group is like making sure we have more than one mural for people to see. It's a different kind of way of functioning, just like artwork is a different kind of way of representing. So picking another community, local professional to do this would have been the way my brain makes sense of it. And then after I thought of that, I stepped away from it because this is such a hard thing to do. And seeing how people don't always see eye to eye or how to run things is different. I had to step away from that before my brain exploded. So just thinking, keeping it simple and community involved and having multiple people show us how they would do it and learn from each other, I'm really excited to see. So I would, I think even if some of us aren't happy with decisions, and wanting everybody to be involved is kind of where I'm at. And then hearing everybody's opinions of what would work and what wouldn't is awesome. Again, sometimes overwhelming, but we're all pushing our threshold and learning how to communicate and be involved and share. Thank you.
Thanks, Danielle.
Do you want to go online?
Sure, yeah.
Switch it up a little?
Yeah.
Do you want to start, Everett? Do you have any comments?
No, I don't have any comments at the moment.
All right, thank you. Steve Crow, do you have anything you'd like to add or any questions?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions for the committee. When I took all three of the scorecards and like put them onto one sheet and then kind of tallied them that way and looked at the, for each line item, like experience, organization, budget, et cetera, looking at what the total of all three respondents was for the scores. And what I noticed, what kind of jumped out at me was proposal structure was very uneven, where StephNet had 15 and SweetWave had 9. And then on marketing plan, SweetWave had 8 and StephNet had 15. And that basically, accounted for, if not the total discrepancy or difference in scores, the vast majority of it. So I was just wondering what the proposal structure is actually. Like I didn't quite understand what that one was. And the second question would be, what effect does this have on the concert series itself? And, why would it be important, since there's big discrepancies on marketing plan and proposal structure? So those are my questions.
So I'll talk about proposal structure and why that's one. It's really just the proposal, like what all they went through, what all they were offering, all that they called out. And so it's really the thoroughness is a lot of that, I think, is what that score range is. Not talking about the respondents, it's more that's what that was meant to be. Like, how thorough was the proposal? Did it hit all the points that we asked for in the RFP? That's kind of, and how fleshed out was it? You know, I think those were what that is about for the proposal structure. And then marketing. Can you clarify your question? So marketing was a piece of the RFP that we asked for. And I'm sure you're aware, when you draft an RFP, then you pull those items over into your scorecard. You know, what did you ask for? How did they come in? And so that's how that came over into there. So does that help answer your question about why those items are on the scorecard, or am I missing something?
But no, I think so. My concern was more, or confusion was more about the proposal structure and what importance that had for ultimately for the experience of, running the series and that. And the marketing plan, if it was really just on the plan itself and not not how people, how thorough they were in writing it, but actually, which marketing plan seems stronger, then that's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's what marketing plan. It's not necessarily. So yes, for marketing, it is about that item, when the scorer was looking at it, was to be looking at it like, which marketing, what do you think of the marketing plan? How thorough is it? Those are the questions that the person was supposed to be checking in on themselves with.
Okay, thanks. That clarifies those. Okay. And then the last, I guess, just sort of question was that, everyone, even before this meeting, the town, and we really got almost nothing but positive responses, I think, to, Sweet Waves, which was time served at the time. And I was just wondering if the committee, gave any weight to that aspect, as far as, we had someone who did a great job last year and did really well, and they have, if not all the members, the vast majority of the members on the team, and then they've added to it. I didn't know if that was factored in at all, or if it wasn't really able to be because you were just doing a scorecard.
Yeah, so there was not a preference point, because how it would work with it is that there would be a preference, or they would get a point because they had done it before. And since this has only been 1 year, I think, you can do that at certain points, but since there's been 1 year, it's harder to kind of justify giving a preference in that spot. Typically, when you're doing purchasing, just a big word for what we're doing, but like when you're doing that, so we didn't take that into account. That was not a part of things, and it was certainly noted. And I know we've all talked a lot about how much we've appreciated what time served has done, and I know we also all have talked about how lucky we are to have what we have up here as local talent to be talking to about this and to be able to put this on. So,
but yeah, just to directly to Steve's question, no, there was no weight given into the just mathematical scores of the previous season.
Okay, got it. And it wasn't considered outside of the scores either?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I just wanted to, was wondering about that. And then I just wanted to say, I kind of know both groups, and at least the main people from them. And I think, it's kind of hard to go wrong with either. They're very accomplished, and I think both will do a really good job. So I just wanted to throw that out. But thanks for your work on the whole project.
Thanks, Steve. Everett or
Tanya? We went to Everett.
Yeah.
So Tanya, Trustee Corvalon, do you have anything you'd like to?
I had some questions for the board. I'm wondering if since the proposal was given so much high points, how do people feel about certain things in it, like alcohol sales are in Stephanie's proposal as a part of it. Weekday events are part of it. A 2 to 3 year contract is part of the proposal. There's other things. I mean, like when I agree that there is much more detail in Stephanie's proposal. There wasn't a lot of detail in Sweet Waves, but just curious, like those details, are people all in favor of those things? I personally was happy not having alcohol sales or any sales at all. I'm curious how the rest of the board feels and how they want the event to go. Obviously, we call the shots on that, not just for proposals, so we can say no or yes to things. And how much do we want to get involved? I know I was speaking about it with Andrew, and we basically, I mean, the board really shouldn't be involved at all once it's done. We're paying the company money to do everything so that the board doesn't have to work at all. So I think a lot of those decisions regarding alcohol or what day or of the week, we should probably, chime in before the events take off. So that's my first question.
So I will say about the possibility of the proposal called out doing multiple years with StephNet. That is absolutely something that you would have. The contract that you see in the packet is only for 1 year ending for the season. So that would be a question for you all if you are interested in that based on what was in that proposal. And also about the weekdays and the other preferences, that would certainly be worked out, and we could certainly bring, if the board chose to go forward with this proposal, that could be something that we come back with next month as an item where you all can hash out those things and decide if that's the way, if you do want to do weekdays, how you feel about alcohol sales, because that definitely has been something that has been talked about both ways. I've heard strong components that there are people that really want that, and I've heard strong feedback that people really liked how it was. That's not to say that there wasn't alcohol present. So we need to make sure that we're doing the right thing, as the DDA and working with town on this, and the whoever we end up working with to do the summer concert series. So I don't know how you feel about that, or if you feel like that doesn't help you make a decision this evening.
Yeah, that's throwing it out there. About another question I had was, what was the board's intention when we added $10,000 to the budget? I see it. I mean, in one of the proposals that is more detailed, so 35% of the budget, or I forgot the exact number, goes towards the band and all of their expenses. I think that includes sound. Maybe I'm wrong. So then that would mean that extra 10,000 gets spread out between all the other pots. I was personally, when we put more money in it, was hoping that it would go towards booking acts, not so much.
It goes towards one more event.
It doesn't appear to be happening that way.
Right.
It seems like we're getting 6 out of both proposals. So I didn't see anybody adding an extra event. I would also like an extra event for it. It just seems like it's getting thrown into the general pot of more money for the promoter, and a certain percentage of it will go, at least in the one proposal where it was spelled out more. And I'm wondering, how do people feel about that? Because I gotta go plug in my laptop. But because I had thought that our intention was, and maybe we weren't clear about it.
No, that was
act or.
That was what you discussed. That was what you discussed at the meeting, was that the extra $10,000 was for quality of acts. That was the way that the conversation was.
That way in the proposal, because it's just going the budget for the band, and the one proposal that has more detail has a certain amount of money in it. So just a certain small percentage, 35% goes to, so the other 10%, $10,000 and all that is just going to end up going in the general pot. And so I wonder, how much do we want to clarify to whoever gets this contract that actually, no, we want that money to go towards the acts, so you don't have to go on the weekday to find an act that costs more money, put the money, that was our intention. And I don't know how clear that came across to either applicant. So that's just another comment I had.
Can we ask Peter, what percentage of the budget would go to the musicians?
Are we going to have a presentation?
Or how
This is
yeah,
question and we're doing question and answers.
just for the board first?
Yeah, so you all go around, and then what is the best process? Because we were just texting about this, because we can't comment back. So it's legal, but it's not the cleanest way. And so I would like to know what you think the best way to handle this is.
You need to treat both the same, whatever you do. I think if you're going to have an interview process, you want to keep that in mind. I think if you have general questions, you could probably do that as long as you keep it consistent. I think that's really the important thing.
So I think what the board needs to decide, because this is what happened last year, is that it was not meant to be an interview process and it turned into one. And so we really need to be upfront about what you're going to do right now. It was not the intent for this to be an interview process. However, you all are the DDA board and you can decide to do it that way right now if you want. Or you can just do a simple question and answer, go around the room like you have been, and then make motions and move forward.
I feel like if we asked both parties the same questions, it would save us asking all these questions. So I would personally like to see these guys answer the questions so that it's all out in the open. Personally.
Yeah, sure, they're here, so
Yeah.
why not, instead of speculate, let them find out.
So you can have, so if you have a question for Peter,
You should probably have them go, hold on, before you go, just a matter of, it would probably be best for them to go to the podium
Yeah,
and
that was
announce
gonna have
themselves
them.
and then do it in that format,
Yeah.
one and then the other.
Perfect, thank you. We're on the same page. Okay, so Peter, you need to come up to the. Peter, you need to come up to
We were
the.
wondering if, since we went first last year, if we let Stephanie go ahead.
The question for you is right now, we already have her, she's already given the answer, so we need your information.
So
Yeah.
Stephanie put into the proposal that she would use 38% of the money for the musicians. So that was the question. What will you use for the musicians?
So last year, we went to about 60%. I'm not sure, I didn't read all of Stephanie's proposal, but we spent at least 60% of our money last year on talent, and we'd be probably upping that a little bit more, but we would be looking for the DDA to give us guidance on what you'd want that extra 7,000 to go towards. Last year, we got 53,000. You gave us 3,000 more for the 6 more shows. So it was $500 more instead of, it says somewhere that we got $1,000 more show. We didn't do that. We got 500 more show. But we, can I turn the reverb off on this mic?
Thank you.
That would be
Please.
Which input is the house mic? Or the guest mic?
I think it's got a sticker on there.
Hang on. It'll say on the box.
We're number 2, you said?
I get it. I wouldn't want their reverb off too.
I know when May was actually
Check cash 1 2. Check air cash. Checking 1 2. Okay, that sounds like we're back in the room instead of in the hallway. Okay, so yeah, we spent substantially more on talent last year than what's in Stephanie's proposal, as far as I can see, and we would spend more. We had the idea of potentially bringing to you guys for direction on whether or not you'd like us to do with that extra 7,000. A big show, one big show where we could get a real, national act, headlining national act. And that's something we could do. We've got a few Grammy award-winning artists on the hook already for this summer for either, if we get the concert series, if not, we're going to do some outdoor shows up at the Caribou Room. But we do talent all year long. So that's kind of what we do. But
So-
our percentage is at least going to be 60%.
It's going to be.
If you're counting production with that, I would say it's closer to 80% that we spend on production and talent. Because that's really, it costs a lot to do what we did. And also with the equipment that we provided. Yeah, so that's the answer to that question. We'd be considerably more, spending considerably more on that. Though, if you wanted to not do an extra big $7,000 show, we could do another show, which we think that's a great idea also, bring it up to 7, or we could spend that money on more marketing. We're going to come to the DDA if we were to win the what do you call it, proposal, whatever it is. If we were going to win this, we would come to the DDA for some specific direction on things. And this would be one of the things we'd specifically ask you guys to have a vote on, is how you'd like us to allocate those funds. happy to spend it on more marketing. We saw some great marketing ideas in Stefanet's proposal, and we think we would go ahead and implement some of those as well. That's kind of the idea here. But I have a presentation ready to go. So I don't know if you want to hear a presentation or you want to just answer questions, and if you want to.
I think
I'd let both answer the same question, even though that might be addressing your proposal, and then you guys can decide how you want to handle that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we should probably at some point finish going around the room and, open it up to both applicants, just for their presentation.
I like that idea.
Yeah, so thanks, Peter.
Okay, so Tanya, we've been online in the room. Tanya, do you have any more questions? Were you done? Or did you have more?
No, I think I'll wait for the proposals to see the presentations.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Everett, did he?
He said no.
He didn't have anything to share. Okay, Scott?
So Scott and Daniel.
It makes me uncomfortable that you didn't let them both answer that same question.
Sorry.
Oh,
okay.
Oh, right now. Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So Steph, come on up here.
So
Sorry.
the question is the percent of the budget that goes to the talent, correct?
Hi, Stephanie Edelman here, and I just want to restate that that proposal does say StuffNet as one of the companies, but it's also Peak Performance with Mike O'Brien here. If you want to come up, that would be great. And Phil Chappell, who's on the phone, and Lisa May, who's with Peak Productions. And so it is a whole team. It's not just Stephanie of StuffNet. But with percentages, I think the reason you didn't have me up here is because it is in the thorough proposal, answering all the questions which asked about budget. And it's 67% for talent and production. Obviously, I emphasize that we do want a national act or two, and that production does cost more money because you need to have a larger stage and backline, et cetera. So that is a 67%. Of course, these are estimates, but the 25% for everybody who works on this, again, an estimate, but it also doesn't pay the coordinators. It also pays for security and as well as the staffing. So it's anything related, the trash people, anyone who's in an office or out on the field working that day, except for the core techs doing the production on stage and behind stage or to the side of the stage. But I know you're just asking about percentages. It's all in that proposal. And it also says 8% marketing and 30, well, we already went through the 67% talent and production and 25% for all staffing.
Thanks, Stephanie. Yeah. Scott?
So first I want to comment on something. There was a couple of questions brought up minutes ago. Tanya, I think it was you that brought up a couple of questions. How does the board feel about alcohol sales? I'm going to chime in on this. I don't, if the community really wants it, if there's a way for us to do something like that, I think that's fine and dandy. If it gets to be something that's almost impossible to do through permits and licenses, there's no need for us to try and create a whole new animal. I do think that at those events, it would be nice if some of our local businesses would step up, if not with food trucks, at least set up a small booth on the edge of the park if we can do something like that. This is about promoting local business, and I'd love for some of our local businesses to be present right there on site if they could. The other question is whether or not we feel like we need to get involved in any of the decisions after we award this contract. And I will tell you, if I was giving somebody $60,000 to do a job on my house, I would want to chime in along the way. This is an important project. There's a lot of eyes on it. It gets a lot of attention. I would hope that our opinions would still count after we awarded the proposal. I do have a question for Steph. Okay. Are either of you going to do a wine and jazz festival this summer?
Absolutely.
Okay. You guys, wine and jazz fest? I have to ask you because I asked them.
So time Time Served Productions was put together initially because we were strongly looking at bringing NedFest back into town. And that was why that group was formed, was because we wanted to bring NedFest back. And we did a lot of math and we did a lot of consideration. And we realized that the risk to reward was not really good looking. And if we had a monsoon weekend, we could be out $100,000. And as we were literally deciding, hey, I don't think we're going to do NedFest the way that we were talking about doing NedFest, your all's RFP came out. And we said, hey, well, look at this. Why don't we try to do something like this? But yeah, we are planning on doing, Sweetwave Audio is planning on doing at least one, if not two, outdoor music festivals this summer in town at the end of August for sure. When the students are back in town, we're going to be doing a 2-day festival. But when it comes to the wine fest, that is the Steph's her festival. So
Yeah, I knew
we're
that.
not.
I was just
doing that
really,
one.
I had to ask because I asked what side. So you're going to do a 2-day festival towards the end of the summer.
Yeah, at least. Yeah, we're
Okay.
planning on doing at least one. You know, all of the things have to come together at one time, and that's a tricky little dance. But we've got some really killer artists on the hook right now. We probably were stupid and jumped the gun thinking that we had gotten such a great response from last year's summer music series that we kind of thought we were going to get it again, which is totally stupid on our part. I admit that. That being said, we have some really great artists on the hook. Some are Grammy award-winning artists. In fact, Danny can speak to that, but we'll wait for that to be as part of our presentation, or you want that to be part of our answer?
Okay.
Okay.
And Steph, you're going to do the wine and jazz. Any other big events in this summer?
Nope.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know. Thanks.
Do you want to go to Danielle or do you?
Danielle.
Thank you. One of the questions I have for both of you as we consider choices and moving forward, if you have enough time to think about it, is there any deal breakers, like when agreeing to sign on to something with our artists for Ned Public Art? Again, because that's my experience here and I want to bring what I'm learning back to the board to help as best I can. If you won and then there was something that you definitely wouldn't want to do different from what's in your proposal, a deal breaker, are you able to consider that now and have it be part of conversation? Because it is so time sensitive with hiring talent that if we choose somebody and go further into the conversation and then you say, no, this isn't what I would like to do, you know, that leaves the other team completely behind in securing that talent. So just is there a deal breaker in your considerations? Thank you.
Steph, why don't you come up first and then we'll have Peter.
I think that's a very good point to consider, that there could be favoritism and there could be a vote and a team might decide not to do it. Or the conversations occur about specifics, like the level of talent and the budget allocation and the required reporting, the alcohol, no alcohol sales, and those could all factor into it not working out to be successful for either side. For example, I'm committed to regular reporting and transparency and budget keeping and relationships in the community between nonprofits and all the food and alcohol establishments that we have. And that's a very important part to me because really this is about, like you say in the RFP, bringing fun, free events and helping the downtown businesses. And if I feel like I can't accomplish that, if there are certain requirements from the DDA when you accept this, then I would back out if I can't do it correctly and live up to increasing business bottom line in the district. Does that answer your question? I'm saying, in other words, there are factors that would preclude our team from doing this if there's hard and strict rules that might not work with how we estimated everything, because I want to be successful and use that money correctly.
So I can say with complete certainty, there's 0 deal breakers for us. Is if we can accomplish what you ask us to do, we'll accomplish that. Just to touch on the alcohol thing which was a big deal for us last year in making these decisions. We did approach all 3 breweries in town and asked them, hey, do you guys want to do that? Very nice, expressed some interest, and then they backed out. BC Brews didn't return the call after I sent them a couple different messages. Knotted Root is still somebody who would consider, but there's a great deal of red tape to come along, including having to have security, a sectioned area for where alcohol is allowed to be consumed. On a personal note, and this is just our personal viewpoint, which really doesn't come into factor since you're the ones paying. We really liked the idea that it was more family oriented because there was nobody sloshing around drinking. And if anybody was drinking, with a brown paper bag, there was 0 disturbances last year caused by any alcohol. And in fact, the community responded to the event so well that we had planned all this time to be cleaning up wherever the site was that we were at, and we would probably spend at most 15 minutes cleaning up because the Nederland community was so rockin' awesome in taking care of themselves and understanding that they took care of that park better than any commercial venture that might have happened in that park last year. We had literally a handful of trash at one point that you could put in your hand this big of like candy wrappers and 1 cigarette. I think that was it. But it was quite amazing how well the community became a participant in the whole thing last year. And so we don't think that there would be any deal breakers as long as it's something that we could budget in. If you asked us to hire Bob Dylan, for example, no, we would not be able to come up with the $400 million to do that or whatever it costs to get Bob Dylan. All I'm saying is we'll do whatever you tell us to do, right? Because you're hiring us. If you hire us to do something and you tell us specifically you'd like that to be done, we're absolutely going to make that a priority.
Thanks. As far as my thoughts on some things I've heard earlier, I know that, in looking at, factors that might preclude that the alcohol sales is a big deal, right? Because also there's insurance that needs to be had. And, the feedback that I had, last year and recently has been, and I'm of the mind that I want to support businesses. And I also realize how much more complicated it is with alcohol. I'm honestly, the argument can be made either way. I know, but really also wanting to drive those people from the concert series into the downtown. And knowing that, there's also just a fundamental benefit to town, whenever there's, I think, live music going on. So, certainly having heard, and I, still gonna open it up to you guys for presentations, but just wanted to share my initial kind of feedback from reflecting on this past year. What went well, I think, was, positive feedback from the community. And, I think obviously we can't control the weather. There was, one that rain out one. And I in keeping it, wanting to walk the balance of, keeping it intimate and bringing people together and giving a benefit to visitors and helping encourage them to support businesses. But it's possible that too much marketing is a bad thing, right? I mean, how long until the capacity gets, but therein again, like this is on the evolution of where does the DDA want to have concerts? Do we have anywhere other than Chipeta Park at this point to do it? I don't think we do. So, are we working still through the downtown and the waterfront? I mean, the proposed Barker Meadows Park. Yeah. I think that's still slowly on the back burner. So, in the meantime, the concert series, the intention with the budget increase was really to bring extra talent and, having clarity in a proposal that spells out the different percentages is highly important to me. But also the amount of money that's going to talent is important to me. So, I think that the would it make sense to, try and add a more frequent show or a seventh show versus upping the talent? Maybe. I don't have the answer for that, but my initial thought would be that we were having, a certain higher level of talent for some of the shows, not that the artists last year weren't talented. So, I think what I also don't want to have happen this year is, regardless of who wins, is I really don't want there to be any vagary on what the DDA is providing, like from a safety, emergency plans, anything like that. Like I want the production company to do everything. And I think, looking at what additional monies are being asked for above and beyond the initial, allocation is also important to look at. But those are my thoughts right now.
So I think you just brought up important point that I do want to pull out is that in the applications, and this might be, I have a question. So my question would be, in one application, we heard that StephNet said that you were thinking that you were going to come back like last year and that there would be $1,000 per event for marketing and that potentially coming back for security. So I want to hear from both of you if that is the intent, is to come back to this board for more funding for the event outside of this. So that's my question, to get some clarity for everybody on. You can start first because you did bring it up in your, and Peter alluded to it, so.
Yeah, I mentioned that last year it was encouraged for the $1,000 event organization per event, and it was awarded. So last year was $56,000. So I did say we would apply if that was encouraged like it was last year as a funded part of the budget, of your overall budget. Does it mean that that's how I did my percentages and that what I proposed was covered by 66 versus 60? No.
Thank you.
So last year, that extra grant, we were awarded 3,000 because you guys ran out of money. Is that
No, it was 6. You billed us for 6. You got the 6.
No, we didn't.
Oh, with me, I worked with Mandy on that. I can send you. I
can tell you, we got $500 per show extra. You guys, what happened was you wanted to go to 6, but you had ran out of money because we were the last in line, and Scott was the one who called it out and said, "Hey, we're running out of money here," and so we ended up getting not 1,000 per show, but we got 500 per show. But we'll double check, and maybe I'm wrong, but
we'll double check.
I'm keenly aware of how the budgeting went last year. And one thing I back to the question here about security. we have security, and our company actually has a security crew. We have a security manager. And we had 0 incidents last year, as well as we had 8 crew, some burly guys just on site because their crew prepared to handle any kind of unruly situation that might have happened. Like I said, we were actually surprised at how incredibly well the community kind of took this on as theirs, and it was really a warm, fuzzy feeling, right? And so, we had a couple people who might have acted a little funny, and then literally the other members of the community took it upon themselves to make sure that they were exited from the space before we even had the chance to step up and do anything. So if you want to have something very similar to last year, we don't see a need for added security unless alcohol is introduced.
Hold on one
to the
second.
equation.
It just, well, we get back online.
Okay.
So, but, and just to clarify, I wasn't really talking the security, I think.
Hold on one moment. Don't
Yeah, oh yeah,
start.
sorry, okay.
You are off record.
Sorry.
It's offline.
Gavel looks good on you.
What? Thanks.
Somebody, audio.
Check.
We had
Oh,
some-
now there's a delay. Hey, anybody out there? Hi, check 1, 2.
Was somebody online? Can you check me online?
Can somebody online, can you hear us?
I got a thumbs up.
Thank you.
When I mentioned about security, and I was kind of talking that we on our own side, it's not great and clear, of what safety and security funds would go to. But that aside, I wasn't inferring that we needed additional necessarily security, just kind of the additional, funding buckets that are sought. Yeah.
So how we took that additional 3,000 last year was we went right to marketing with it. Was it 3,000?
I don't know, but yes, the money was put towards marketing.
And that's
We
what,
agree on
as
that.
we understood, that was for that grant was specifically for marketing. And if there's anything we can improve upon last year, which of course we took many notes on things that we would do better this year, one would be the marketing for sure. We think we fell a little short on that. I was concerned. Excuse me, I'm talking singular. We were concerned a little bit about how big the event might grow. And in fact, that rain day, which I think was the 5th event, kind of slowed everything down a little bit. But it said on your RFP that we had around 200 people. We always had way more than 200 people. In fact, we took a clicker, and we have some pictures to show you that we had 400 to 600 people at one of the shows. And it was growing, and that if we were to spend this on better talent, like some of the talent we would have on the hook right now.
Yeah, we talk to people all year round, and summer schedules are coming together right now. We have summer schedules coming together right now with touring artists and other artists. Artists like Dan Tominski, Motet, members of the Motet with ALO, Spafford, and also I speak to national reggae agents almost weekly. Bands like the Itals, and there's so many bands from Colorado that are very, very, very worthwhile. They're on a national basis for what they do, and they're very well known. I think it's important to bring in all that. Also, support openers are just as important in a lot of ways as the bands that are headlining. So,
and we tried to get actually local Netherlands support a lot. That was our first priority. Would be, okay, is there a local act that we would like to give them this exposure, because exposure really is the deal in the first couple of years when you're trying to get out there and start playing. So we concentrate on trying to get the openers be local performers, as long as we think that they're that they have a good enough product for
They're
what we're
ready.
trying to present. As long as they're ready, exactly. As long as they have their mic technique down and they can keep their instruments in tune, that's definitely part of things that's important for us. Okay, anything else you want for that question? All right, thanks, Andrew.
May I address talent? Because the question was about the additional funding. And I'm not sure how that connected.
I think what I want to do is I think we should make sure you can address the question about talent. But I want to get to the point where you guys can just do your presentation and we're not doing questions anymore. So I think, yeah, go ahead.
Can we
that
do
one
that
and then
now?
I think move to those presentations
Okay.
is good.
So go ahead, Stephanie, so you can speak to that, and then we'll move to presentations. And is 5 minutes each okay with you? Okay.
Well, as mentioned in my detailed proposal, I book over 250 acts a year in Netherlands, and 98% of those are peak to peak artists, sometimes a Boulder artist, sometimes a Denver artist, but rarely. So I'm very in the know of who's doing what and the level they are and the ability they have to perform. And the reason why I have peak performances here is because of his connections to the national acts and how we can actually monetize on these national acts from where they're playing at other places he's booking. So it can be an anchor date plus a Netherlands date at a much lower fee for these huge acts. I don't know if he wants to share them. It's also detailed in the proposal, but Mike, can you introduce yourself and talk about the types of acts you get and where?
I'm Mike O'Brien from Peak Performances. I first wanted to give Danny a shout out. We go way back a few decades. Great to see him. Always love working with him over the years. So that being said, I think whomever is awarded the bid, either way, you're going to be in great hands. I've booked over 5,000 artists in my career. We're the third biggest production company in the state of Colorado. We work in 18 states now, starting with just this guy 33 years ago. We booked everybody from Bob Dylan to the Revivalists to Sheryl Crow, George Benson. So I'm on the phone daily with all the major players in the industry, both on the talent side, agencies, and management firms. So our approach is to be turnkey, hassle-free. We take care of everything. And when you do enough shows and you have enough experience, things happen. As prepared as you are, and we are process-oriented, detail-oriented, but as people know in the world of events, as you are prepared so that when something flares up, you can pivot and handle it. And I can say that we have an iterative process where when something, we debrief after every event. So on an annual basis, I'm booking over 500 artists, including the Subaru Winterfest here. So after each event, we do a debrief and say, how can we be impeccable? Yeah, we did great. Everything went flawless, but we noticed things internally. How can we be better? So I think that's what you get with Peak is turnkey, hassle-free, no liability, all of those things those little bugaboos that people with in the event world that may not have encountered those little fires over a long career might not consider. We consider it in advance, and that preparation is designed to limit liability and truly make it A to Z turnkey. You guys show up, enjoy the show, and do your networking with your constituents, and we handle all the hard work. That's about it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
do we want to do 5 minutes each for presentations now?
Yeah, max 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'll
or
do a
less.
timer just to respect everybody's time of the night, not trying to cut you off. And I also do want to note that this wasn't requested, so this will be off the cuff, I'm sure, a little bit. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that this was not requested to do a presentation this evening, but happy to do it. So
Things you guys want to share.
who wants to go first?
There was no presentation last year. I didn't know there was a presentation this year. I mean, I'll speak first. It's fine. If you want me to, it's just.
Go right ahead. Okay.
Come on, Mike. So yes, there is no presentation I have prepared because I answered the RFP and all of the points that needed to be covered. However, I do want to give huge congratulations to this team, well, members of this team who are here from last year, because they put on a great series. And I applaud them for their efforts and for wanting to optimize on what they did. I know that some of the issues, in addition to basic marketing, was of the reporting and transparency and following of the community. But I do also know from friends and articles, et cetera, that people had a great time. And that is what the DDA wanted. Be it 100 people or 500 people to the events, it started something that will hopefully last. And I respect for the DDA to continue it. Whichever decision you make, at least it's a continuation and at least you have two good choices. I think the big differences, again, is what Mike and Peak Performances can provide in terms of bigger acts while we still have the local and regional acts, especially what Danny said with Colorado acts that travel nationally. We have all those contacts. Being able to have it be a series for this band that we wouldn't be able to get otherwise if we weren't able to plan a bunch of dates for them. I think that, well, again, I know that another big division or difference is just the reporting and the transparency and the relationships with nonprofits and establishments that come with our team. They are wonderful, excellent at production. So are we. We are upping the production level in terms of the PA, the modern PA and the stage. I'll let Mike address that in a moment. And you know, if they get it and they want to use some of my marketing plan, I'm glad to help them because I see this again to improve business for the district. When I do Ned Jazz Wine, I've had people say, how can you even attend DDA, Ned Jazz Wine? You are here, but you don't have a brick and mortar. But I advertise over $5,000 to Denver and Boulder to, even if they don't come to Nederland, they hear Nederland on Kuvo, on KGNU. They hear it all the time. And they might say, I don't care about wine or jazz, but I should go there for the weekend and spend some time. So marketing, of course, I do marketing, is not just a huge component for the series. It's a huge component for Nederland to get people to come up to Nederland and spend money. And I don't see it necessarily as being people who come up and spend a week because of a concert, but I do see them maybe spending a night, definitely planning their breakfast, dinner, lunch, or their after the concert. And that's why I put in a variety, which is also a big difference of having the weeknights for the people who can't stay on the weekends and want to come and have it be family friendly and bring their whole family. I definitely want to have a large national touring children act to come, and of course that wouldn't have alcohol. I also want to play with the why I spelled out in the proposal, weekend versus weekday, is the timing would be different. So you build business on the way to the concert or after the concert, and it gives a lot of businesses different choices. I know it was an experiment last year, and of course there's room to optimize. And again, no matter who you go with, I hope it gets better and better. But driving business to the brick and mortar establishments is one of my ultimate priorities, along with having an enjoyable experience for everybody coming and people going, no way, you got that band? I'm telling my friends from Denver to come, and they're gonna come and spend the night at my house, and they're gonna spend a whole lot of money running around Nederland. That is the intention. Mike, can you just talk about the difference of the production in terms of the stage you'd like to have and the PA type? And I know not everybody's on production, but we are upping it a level. And again, they were chosen last year because they said we have a stage. We have a stage, and it's a bigger stage that can handle national acts. So can you just talk about that for a second?
Sure. Peak Performances, we own all our own equipment, from a Meyer Panther rig, which is the sound system that's out on tour with Dave Matthews and Metallica. We have all our own lighting. We have a backline. Backline is the instrument rentals. So if an artist flies in, they're not on touring on the road, they need the same drum kit that they're used to having. They want that exact drum kit on stage to show up, set up, ready for their sound check. We handle that backline. LED walls. We have the largest inventory of LED panels in the state of Colorado. State of the art. 65. I don't want to get to the details, but they're bright enough that you can see it in broad daylight. Let's just put it that way.
We only have
Sorry.
a few seconds.
Oh, sorry.
So the point is that we can handle national acts with the equipment that we have, because their riders are very demanding. And the only other difference I want to state is my relationships with nonprofits. I've worked with many of them and been on many boards. And there is a 100% commitment that every nonprofit that comes to each event is advertised in the marketing. So we build awareness about them and we give money to them. It's not a nice, it is an absolute that they will make money and have a presence, and people will learn about those causes.
Thanks.
I'm curious about their state. Is that an SL 100 you have?
We have an SL50, SL 100, and Apex 3224.
And you'd bring an SL 100 to every show?
We probably do the 50, depending on, it's all commensurate with the artist. So
Right.
whatever the artist requirements are, technically we would match
Understood.
the production.
We also have an SL 100. We have been Meyer dealers for 27 years. We brought Meyer Sound, which I think is the best. We brought that to the field last year. We brought the Meyer Sound in. On their presentation, they were talking about some JBL. I think it was probably VRXs or something. Really not very great speakers, and their monitor rig isn't really kind of up to snuff. One thing I think that's really important, if we're just going to be competitive here for a second, is that we are a brick and mortar company in Nederland. We pay Nederland taxes. Our employees are from Nederland. We have our marketing team is in Nederland. We register our trucks in Nederland. We have a complete backline company that is pretty staggeringly big. We've got 12 drum kits. We've got many amplifiers and keyboards and percussion and instruments. We actually rent guitars, and backline is not an issue. Staging is not an issue. We brought what we thought would be the appropriate stage for the budget that was allotted to us. An SL100 is a couple $100,000 stage, as I recall. A 50 is what going these days? 125. So I just am not sure how the math is working here on that proposal, because when you do the math, it's not correct on their proposal. But I'll let you guys go ahead and figure that out. They got 29% for $22,000. That's actually 38% of what what the budget would be. I'm not going to nitpick about it. We have the ability to provide for any act that we get. We get the best act we can, and then we work with them on that. A lot of the things you can do to save money is by working down backline equipment. And backline equipment, for those of you who don't understand what backline is, if you have a fly date in, and we have a band coming in that we've flown in from LA, which is something we've been considering on a couple of these shows, they want everything, and they want a specific snare drum, and they want a specific guitar amplifier made by this specific with these specific tubes, these specific heads. We have that in our warehouse 300 yards from here. And so, in fact, when we often will get to a show and they're like, hey, what about that Les Paul that you were supposed to have? We can go grab that and bring it back down within 5 minutes or 4 minutes. We are a Netherlands-based brick and mortar company paying Netherlands taxes. And I think it's really important to consider, if we're trying to keep this Netherlands-centric, if you would want us to actually start using the marketing to advertise Netherlands, as Stephanie is suggesting, we're happy to do that. We thought it was more important last year to advertise, to try to get the community out and create community fellowship. And then during the process, as you know, we had very little time last year when we really got things going and everything was approved. We only had about a month to 6 weeks to throw it all together. So this year, there's a lot more time, lead time, and we'll be able to get feedback from you guys about what you would like us to do with whatever budget we have for that particular show. And that's what we'd like to do. And I think that's where we can improve the most from last year, is working with the DDA. And I know you guys would like to be one and done. And I hear that, to be just here's the money, go do the best you can, honestly. But when it comes down to, and I'll give you an example of last year, was specifically about where the shows were going to be held. You guys wanted to have the shows all around Netherlands, and we approached Ned. I drove around with the Parks and Recreation chair several different times, looking for places we can go. Power at that point was a consideration. We now own a generator, so we can really pop up this thing up wherever you want. We were looking over at Big Springs like that as a suggestion, and we met an incredible resistance from the immediate businesses that were there. And so not only that, we kind of had created a show that's nice to be sitting in grass and nice to bring in your lawn chairs, bring in a cooler, have your own lunch and all that. But we did approach all of the nonprofits that are listed here in their proposal, as well as many that actually aren't on their proposal that we think are important, like Peak to Peak Healthy Communities and the Soup Kitchen and all that. We approached all of them, and nobody ended up really stepping up. Then we went to the food trucks, and we invited the 2 local Netherlands food trucks to come, and one of them showed up and one of them didn't. But this year they said they'd like to come down. We think a variety is very important to help an event, food and drink. But like I said, my personal recommendation would be to not do alcohol. Besides that, the more variety, the better on food and drinks, and that really makes the thing more fun. To have vending in some sort from the vending from the nonprofits would be important. And then that's something, if we were awarded this, we would talk to you guys, and we would actually have several questions. We'd come to another DDA meeting, the next DDA meeting, and ask for a couple votes. And I know that might be unconventional and something you might not want to do, but we would say, hey, we would like to get a quick vote from the entire board on whether or not you'd like us to move forward in doing this on First Street or not, or whether or not you'd like us to keep this on the grass down at Chipeta. We were really hoping to do this down at the baseball park. I mean, I served on 3 board of trustees. I was on 3 different BOTs. And when we built Second Street, the plan of Second Street was to be a walkway past all of our businesses from the parking areas to walk down to that park. So we're really hoping.
So you can close it up, like we hit the 5 minutes. So just give your final thoughts for us here.
Okay. I didn't know we were on time. Sorry.
That's why I have it.
Oh, okay. So I guess we're here to answer any questions. Do you have any questions about what we would be doing differently, or what you would like to see us, or what you're wondering about what we do, our approach? Okay.
Thanks. One question. So you stated earlier, and I just want to, you'd say you guarantee that you're putting 60% towards talent?
I'm going to definitely say it's higher than that.
Okay.
I mean, because we're all in one, we're not a group that's going to be going out and shopping for a production company, shopping for all this. We are all in one, and there's a magazine that's kind of really important. It's $800 a year, and we are members of Polestar. I'm not sure if you guys are members of Polestar or not. Yeah, Polestar is crucial, and Polestar is one of those things that gives you a list of who sold what for how much, what the ticket price was, and how many tickets were sold for that venue. This is incredibly important data to have, and we use that all year long when we are booking our different events. So.
Peter, can you just
Thanks.
verify that 60% is to pay for the act only?
No, I didn't say that.
Okay.
I said this over 60% would be on production. Oh, I'm thinking 80% is going to be on production and acts.
So what for the talent, what percentage for talent only, would you say?
It really, so buying talent happens on the spot, so, 60%, I'd have to take a look. I don't have a calculator in front of me. I didn't know you'd want that breakdown right away, but we spend as much money as we have left after what we consider to be good enough advertising to get talent. And that usually comes in the last minute where we're like, hey, we can get this band's coming through this weekend. They need a date. We juggle with the big players in town, which is Z2 and AEG, and we kind of work around them and with them on if they've got a band, for example, this band Spafford, who's just kind of taken off in a certain way. The only reason they're not playing at one of the Z2 venues is because the Z2 venues are booked up. So we kind of picked up those remains, and we're going to be able to use that and go ahead and take that band and go ahead and produce that band. But that happens from things going wrong with their tour manager or whatever, and that, or, their tour management or their talent agency, their promoters. Sometimes they have faux pas and mistakes or vehicles break down. And suddenly they're like, we need a date in Colorado right now. And then that's when we can pounce. And we're in constant communication with most of all the promoters.
That's one of the reasons we've been able to get to know the bands.
Because
we're able to fit them in. Because we're able to fit them in sometimes on a last minute notice. And they know that. So we have relationships with the bands, and talent buying it's a juggle, and it's also a feel. You want to know the town really well, and then you want to look at all these bands. You want to find out where they are and keep in mind what the town is saying and what they're doing, and trying to put in some new stuff here and there so that we can try some new stuff, but also just having a feel for what goes on here. It's really, really, really important. And that's our day-to-day job.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Since that was an extra 3 or 4 minutes, I'd like to say something. I think I've made it clear that we have all the connections to buying talent locally, and for all the different events I've done in NED, I know the people very well, and actually I'm quite an influencer in getting people to do things and volunteer for things. But I also wanted to just point out that Mike has worked in several towns to do their concert series when it was in its infancy, and now they're in what? Do you have some that are in their 10th year?
Well, Dillon Amphitheater, we started in 1993, and that's become.
Yeah, we have Dillon Amphitheater, Avon. You said you do a few in Leadville, and what's another one that's every week during the summer? Lone Tree, Frisco. And so he has a lot of experience in taking these nascent ideas, ones that they learned and developed on, but making it a successful series that actually doesn't cost more money every year, but is able to be monetized and optimized to last for years and years and have more people, bigger bands and sponsors, etc. So I respect his experience with these town series, and I want to turn to him to make sure they can be as successful as they are in other Colorado towns.
I would just add, I think a difference would be we're already booked into September. We book forward. We're actually already have some artists confirmed for 2026. We're not the last minute guys. Can we pull an artist out of our hat? Yeah, because we've got the network of industry connections. So if an emergency pops up, a band's vehicle breaks down, I can make a couple of phone calls and have somebody replace that artist. But that's not like how we like to work.
Yeah.
We want to be working forward because the farther out your book, the more marketing you can do, and more marketing you can do better.
Thank you.
That was-
Yeah.
It is.
You need to take action, I think.
There's a motion that somebody could put in there, but so you could put it out there to see what happens. You know, I have the motion in there, do the board support the recommendation or not, and then that could take it from there, right?
I mean,
I'm not.
I think like a motion to move this to a vote where the.
It is an action item.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
You just need a motion. Is that what you're thinking?
Is there gonna be public comment?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
need
we have to do
sorry,
public
we need
comment,
public
sorry.
comment. Sorry, Kathleen.
So are you ready for public comment now, or do you?
I think we're ready for public comment.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Deb DeAndrea. I sent you guys an email. Did you have an opportunity to read it? Yes. Okay, good. So I don't need to reread it, but I give full support to Sweetwave Audio. I've worked with them for decades. They're freaking awesome. They did a great job yesterday on a shoestring, time-wise, pulling it together. And no alcohol, that's awesome. Bazaar Cat Bazaar, no alcohol, people loved it. I think that the format and the recipe that Peter's put together, he's a Nederland resident, Nederland company, supports the NDDA. You really can't not go with Sweetwave.
Kathleen Chipeye, Magnolia Star Route. Did everybody get my email? Great. Well, I want to say that last year's music concerts were successful by all standards. Atmosphere was upbeat, friendly, good vibes. Everyone enjoyed themselves. No one was kicked out. We didn't have any weird public humiliation. Sweetwave is a brick and mortar business, has a good relationship with local businesses and restaurants, roots in the Nederland music community and the BOT. Events were family friendly and alcohol free. And Peter and his crew have excellent connections to local and national acts. And I think the weekend events were what brought more business to Nederland because most people have jobs during the week. And I think that worked out better. I am against STEFNet, not Nederland residents, not brick and mortar businesses. Also, even though Peter's not, I don't think he's in the DDA district, but I feel like the DDA gives enough grant money to Stephanie for her other endeavors. I feel there's a slight conflicting personal friendship with the DDA executive director. I don't like alcohol. I don't like the idea as a business owner of having the events on the weekdays. I don't think that's going to benefit the businesses as much as if it was on the weekends. And let's see. I feel that I want to consider that Netter Days was funded by the DDA and run by Steph and was a failure. Numerous times the town lost money. We know for sure at least $15,000 that the town lost, but possibly $30,000 on the first one. The second one, you know, I can't say because nobody seemed to be keeping track of sales of the merchandise by the town staff. So, and I feel like she's had too many incidents.
You are saying inaccurate.
I am talking now. Thank you. You lied. She lied about me and called the marshal at the farmer's market and tried to have me kicked out of the farmer's market. So it's incidents like that. I think she's had incidents like that with too many people, trying to kick people out of the wine and cheese event who had tickets gifted to them. I don't like that kind of vibe. And she couldn't handle being in the same room as a few of us in the very nice, and said so, and pointed at us and said she was leaving.
That's 3 minutes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Is there anyone online?
Raise your hand if there's any public comment online, please. Not seeing anything. Not seeing anything.
Go ahead, Barb.
I think at this time, I'd like to make a motion to accept the bid from Sweet Wave Audio to move forward to produce the summer concert series for 2025.
I'll second it.
Okay, so I'll do roll. Barb Hart,
Yes.
Andrew Dewart,
Yes.
Scott Pappich,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Trustee Corvalon,
Hold on a moment, there's an issue. Tanya's trying to talk and she's not being able to be heard.
Oh, okay.
You got several comments.
Yep. There's people
Can
with
you
their
s-
hands up.
See if one of them will try talking. Tanya, can you talk if you can hear?
And then Billy's got his hand up. Tanya, can you talk if you can hear us? I can't. She's trying.
Hey, if you are on Teams right now, I'm going to exit the room here, and I'll be right back. You won't get kicked off, but there's something going on here tonight. One moment. Can you test? I need you to test talk.
Test? Anybody
Tanya
online?
or Lisa or anyone on, please?
Anybody online, please speak. Tanya, can you speak try again?